Hello, welcome to the Echoes of Shadows channel. Today, we will explore the story of an ambitious young woman who discovers the devastating price of her choices after making a pact that seemed like the solution to all her problems. Get ready for an intense narrative that will captivate you from beginning to end. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next stories. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm here to share a very personal experience. I won't reveal my real name or the names of others involved because I need to keep my identity secret. Those involved might end up hearing this story. Please, I ask that you don't judge me. I'm not proud of what I did. I've suffered a lot because of it, and I'm still dealing with the consequences. My name is Anna, and I've always been an extremely ambitious and competitive person, even since childhood. I wanted to be the best at everything. I studied tirelessly because I needed to be the top of my class. My parents were always proud of me and pushed me to excel in everything. This constant encouragement was both a blessing and a curse, as it motivated me but also put enormous pressure on me. I never felt like I could meet their expectations. My routine was exhausting. Besides schoolwork, I was involved in extracurricular activities like dance, theatre, and painting. To my satisfaction, I excelled in all these activities. I really was the best at everything I did. But my competitive spirit drove everyone away. To me, everyone was a potential rival who could hinder my performance. Over time, inevitably, no one wanted to play with me or even talk to me. I provoked dislike in the other kids, and they had every right to feel that way. When I realized I was completely isolated, my world fell apart. My days became sad and lonely. The weight of my choices crushed me, and I didn't know how to escape the situation I had created. It was in this context that, at the end of middle school, I met Mariana. She was a very social and cheerful girl, the type of person who lights up any room. She quickly made friends with everyone at school, unlike me. One morning, while I was sitting alone in the courtyard eating my lunch, Mariana approached me and said, I shouldn't be sitting alone. She smiled and sat next to me. I was surprised because, as I mentioned, she had already made friends with everyone, and I didn't expect someone as popular as her to take an interest in me. We exchanged a few words, and from that moment on, we became friends. My parents didn't like our friendship. They claimed Mariana would distract me from my studies, and for the first time in my life, I ignored their opinion. Mariana's friendship was good for me. It filled the emptiness in my life. As the years went by, our friendship grew stronger. However, a dark feeling started to grow inside me. Envy. Mariana was incredibly beautiful and attracted everyone's attention. It wasn't that I was ugly, but she had a special glow, was outgoing and extroverted. Whenever we went out, guys would ask for her phone number and invite her out, while I felt invisible. This feeling consumed me from within. I even considered distancing myself from her because being around her was becoming painful. But the fear of being alone again kept me from doing anything. It was around this time that Mariana started dating a guy named Felipe. He was handsome and charismatic, and he quickly won Mariana's heart. With the start of their relationship, I felt even more isolated. Mariana spent most of her time with Felipe, and even though we still hung out, I couldn't stand the idea that she had a boyfriend and I didn't. Their relationship lasted a year, and when it ended, Mariana and Felipe agreed to remain friends. Mariana and I started hanging out alone again, but I was no longer comfortable. Whenever we went to parties, Mariana would hook up with a different guy, and I remained alone. My mother kept insisting that I should distance myself from Mariana, claiming that if I stayed by her side, I would never find someone to date because she would always steal all the guys. Those words upset me, but deep down, I feared they were true. I seriously considered distancing myself from Mariana, but that would mean being alone again, and I wasn't ready for that. In 2005, a guy named Tiago moved into our neighborhood. I still remember the first time I saw him. He was gorgeous, the kind that takes your breath away. I felt it was love at first sight, and I wanted him for myself. I knew it would be difficult, but I at least had to try. One day, I went out to buy some bread, and suddenly, a torrential rain started. There was a park near my house, and since I didn't have an umbrella, I quickened my pace to get home. Suddenly, I heard a male voice behind me saying, "Miss, this umbrella is big enough for two." When I turned to see who it was, I nearly lost my breath when I realized it was Tiago. He came closer to shield me from the rain, and we started talking. I found out he had just moved and, to my luck, was going to attend the same college as me. I was ecstatic because this meant we would see each other almost every day. When we reached my house, he smiled and said, "This is where you live, right? We'll be seeing each other a lot." I just smiled and went inside, my heart racing. That night, I couldn't sleep. So excited was I. All I could think about was him and how wonderful it would be to have him by my side. However, fate had other plans. The next morning, I woke up with a high fever and nausea. I stayed like that the entire week, which kept me from going to college and, consequently, from seeing Tiago. I woke up early every day just to watch him leave the house from my window. That gave me the strength to endure the illness. When I finally recovered, I was eager to see him again. At college, I looked for him, but when I arrived, I had a bitter surprise. Tiago was at the entrance, kissing Mariana. My heart shattered in that instant. I knew Mariana couldn't have known about my feelings for Tiago since I hadn't mentioned anything to her. But even so, I felt betrayed by both of them. I couldn't attend classes that day. I went back home in tears. My mother, seeing my state, asked what had happened. When I told her about Tiago and Mariana, she didn't miss the chance to say "I told you so," and even added that if I didn't distance myself from Mariana, I'd end up dying alone, with no one to love me. Those words hit me like a sharp blow. It was then that my mother suggested I should win Tiago over, make him my goal. That rekindled the old competitive spirit from my childhood, and I found myself in another competition, this time for the love of a boy. The next morning, I woke up determined to take Tiago from Mariana. At college, I acted as if nothing had happened, but inside, a storm was brewing. I made a point to make a snide remark. "Tiago, did you know you're just another one?" Mariana looked at me surprised, and Tiago showed some discomfort. He was clearly the jealous type, and my insinuation bothered him. Disguising the awkwardness, Mariana formally introduced me to Tiago, and I said we already knew each other since he was my new neighbour. The bell rang, and everyone went into the classroom. That day, Mariana invited me to her birthday party, which would be on Saturday. I got home and talked to my mother about it. She said this would be my chance to shine. We went to the mall, and my mother bought me the sexiest dress we could find. It was a black, tight dress with a deep neckline. On the day of the party, I prepared meticulously. I wanted to be irresistible. However, when I arrived at the party, I realized all my efforts were in vain. Tiago only had eyes for Mariana. They were kissing and cuddling all the time, and it enraged me. I couldn't stay at the party any longer. I went back home crying, this time out of anger. When I got home, I told my mother it was useless, that I should give up on this absurd idea because it was only hurting me. But she firmly held my arms and said a woman like me should never give up on her goals. It was time to move on to Plan B. Intrigued, I asked what she meant by that. She told me not to worry, that everything was under control, and that I should just get a good night's rest. The next day, we would go out together. The following morning, I woke up early, and my mother was in the kitchen having coffee. She said we were going on a little trip to resolve what was bothering me. We got in the car and my mother drove for almost 2 hours until we arrived at a place that gave me chills, a dirt road surrounded by a dense forest. We followed a narrow path until we reached a small, run-down wooden house in the middle of nowhere. There lived an old woman with a mysterious appearance, whom my mother called Clara. Clara greeted us with an enigmatic look and invited us inside. My mother explained what we were doing there, and the old woman looked me up and down, evaluating me. She got up and started preparing a strange mixture with herbs and other unknown ingredients. As she did this, she told me I was about to get what I wanted most, but she warned that the price would be high and that once it was done, there would be no turning back. I was desperate. I wanted Tiago no matter what. I told her I was willing to pay any price. Clara handed me a small vial with a strange black liquid. She explained that I should pour it into Mariana's drink, and after that, Tiago would fall madly in love with me. But she emphasized again that the consequences would be irreversible. I took the vial with trembling hands and went back home with my mother. I felt a mix of excitement and fear. I didn't know what was about to happen. I waited until Monday to put the plan into action. I knew that Mariana and I would have lunch together in the college cafeteria. I prepared myself, trying to keep calm, but my hands were shaking. When we met at the cafeteria, I waited for the right moment. Mariana went to the bathroom, and I seized the opportunity. I poured the contents of the vial into her drink. My heart was racing, and I tried to act normal when she returned. We talked and laughed as usual, but I was secretly waiting for something to happen. Mariana drank the entire cup, and nothing happened at first. I started to think that maybe the mixture had no effect, or that I had been fooled. However, a few minutes later, Mariana began to feel unwell. She became pale and said she was feeling dizzy. We rushed her to the infirmary and I accompanied her the entire time. Mariana was hospitalized and remained in a coma for several days. Her family was devastated, and I was tormented by guilt. I didn't know what would happen next. I didn't even see Tiago during that time. But to my surprise, he sought me out a week later. He seemed extremely distressed and confided in me that he was feeling guilty for not taking care of Mariana properly. He said that he had distanced himself from her because of her illness and that she had always confided in me. We began to spend more time together, and eventually, as the old woman had predicted, Tiago fell in love with me. I should have been happy, but my guilt over what I had done to Mariana consumed me. I couldn't stand it and ended up telling Tiago the whole truth. He was horrified and left me, saying he never wanted to see me again. I was left alone, carrying the weight of my actions. I still live with the consequences of that fateful decision, and to this day, I don't know if I'll ever forgive myself. So, here's my story. My advice to you is to never give in to envy or jealousy, because the consequences can be much more severe than you can imagine. I'm sharing this in the hope that someone can learn from my mistake.